Detail at ease.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brooke Pinto. I'm the Ward 2 council member, and it is an honor to be here with you all today to recognize our first responders and remember and honor the lives that we lost on September 11th, 2001. Thank you for the beautiful presentation of the colors. I want to express my sincere thanks to Mayor Bowser, our fire and EMS Chief Donnelly, David Hoagland, and Aretha Lyles, leaders of our local IAFF and local 3721. I want to recognize my other colleagues who are here, our Attorney General, Brian Schwab, at-large council member, Robert White, Ward 7 council member, Wendell Felder, and Ward 3 council member, Matthew Fruman. You know, this has really become a storied and important event in our city, and as we recognize and honor and remember the tremendous sacrifice and service of our first responders, on 9/11, I'd like us now to have a moment of silence in their honor. Thank you. Today marks 24 years since 9/11. I think it is safe to say for everybody who was alive during that time, we all remember exactly where we were on 9/11, one of those rare experiences in our shared American experience. I remember where I was on that morning, having lost several people that I know, and it continues to be a reminder not only of the sacrifices that our fellow neighbors and first responders made, but of the sacrifice our first responders in our city make every single day, running towards danger to protect all of us. I think it's really important as we remember the lives that we lost to continue sharing our stories and educate young people about September 11th so that the bravery of our first responders and those who served as heroes amongst the rubble and ashes are never forgotten. Today we come together to acknowledge the courage and bravery of our first responders, all those who are here with us and those we tragically lost, who gave selflessly during one of our nation's greatest moments of need. We're grateful each and every day for all of your remarkable service to the District of Columbia and to our country and as protectors of our nation's capital. We will always honor your sacrifice and the memory of your courage 24 years ago and that you exhibit every single day. Thank you. At this time, I'm pleased to welcome Mayor Muriel Bowser, and then we will hear from our other colleagues. Thank you, Mayor.
Good morning. I want to welcome each of you to DC Fire and EMS Engine 16 in the heart of downtown Washington, DC. I want to thank Councilmember Pinto and Councilmember Fruman for continuing our tradition as a city for gathering at this firehouse. This firehouse that protects the downtown, protects City Hall, and protects so many of our residents, visitors, and workers. This firehouse also, of course, one, responding to the events of 9/11 at the Pentagon. I want to recognize DC's elected officials, including the Attorney General, Council Members White, Felder, as well, joining the Ward 2 and Ward 3 council members. I want to acknowledge the leadership of DC's bravest, DC's Fire and EMS Chief John Donnelly, command staff, and all firefighters, all EMS personnel. We've been joined by the Commanding General of the DC National Guard, General Leland Blanchard. I want to thank you for being with us as well. We know that our lives were forever changed 24 years ago. Our nation changed in an instant in New York City at the Pentagon, and of course in the skies over Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And so each year on this day, we come together to remember lives lost and to vow never to forget. We remember 3 young souls, our kids, on a plane to go and to learn. DCPS students who were aboard Flight 77, Bernard Brown, Asia Cotton, and Rodney Dickens. We remember their teachers and guides who committed their lives to teaching, who were by their side: Sarah Clark, Hilda Taylor, Ann Judge, Joe Ferguson, and James Debonair. And we remember the Washingtonians whose lives ended on Flight 77 and at the Pentagon: David Charlebois, Paul Ambrose, Karen Kincaid, Ronald Milam, Carolyn Hammond, Brenda Keebler, and Edna Stevens. In solemn reflection and remembrance, we pray for the nearly 3,000 lives lost on that day and the lives that have been lost since. And of course, we remember the courage of our first responders in the midst of chaos. The DC Air National Guard, who scrambled to protect our skies, DC Fire and EMS members, MPD officers who rushed to the Pentagon, and the dispatchers who took calls that day at the Office of Unified Communications. And we also remember the sense of safety that we lost. We know how our lives were changed forever. And we know all the work that we have done to harden and better prepare the nation's capital. And for that, we have our fire and EMS department to thank for their commitment to training, for their commitment to making sure that our men and women have all the equipment that they need. And we have our lawmakers and policymakers to thank to make sure that we have laws in place that protect our firefighters who are running into danger. We thank you for your bravery on September 11th, but we know that you're called on each and every day in Washington, D.C., when our residents may be experiencing their worst day. They have a medical emergency. Someone had a heart attack. Someone's baby's in trouble. Somebody's house may have burned to the ground. And you run to that danger, and you help people every day. So hopefully none of us ever have to have that experience. But I've had the experience of walking out my house and hearing fire trucks racing to a house, my parents' house, that they were in. I've had the experience of having to see you in action and know the sense of calm that you bring to a panicked person in need of help. So on this day, we remember the worst of days for our nation, but we also think of your everyday bravery and thank you for your service. Chief Donnelly, I'd like to present to you, on behalf of all of us, a proclamation on this September 11th, recognizing it as a day of remembrance in Washington, D.C. And I'd also like to recognize the leadership of the unions representing both the fire and EMS units at DC Fire and EMS, David Hoagland and Erika Lyles. And welcome to the podium, the Attorney General for the District of Columbia, Brian Schwab, to be followed by the council members present. Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning. Chief Donnelly, Brigadier General, welcome. I'm honored to be here again this morning with all of you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to celebrate and remember. Just as Councilmember Pinto mentioned, every one of us remembers exactly where we were that September morning. Beautiful blue sky, crisp air, and our lives forever changed in that moment. I remember exactly where I was. I was in a cab in traffic on L Street, right around the corner. The horrific acts of terrorism that occurred that day demand that we remember and that we take a pause, that we make time and space to remember the horror that occurred that morning and the nearly 3,000 innocent people who lost their lives, victims who were taken out of their routine and their lives in an instant. It requires us to think about their families, the children that have grown up without mothers and fathers, the lives of their families forever disrupted, It requires us to remember the incredible talent and dreams that were snuffed out that morning. Their dreams and plans senselessly taken away, and we honor them by stopping to remember, to not let their memories be gone, and may their memories be a blessing for all of us. 9/11 is also a day that we remember and honor the brave men and women who answered the call, some of whom are in the room today still. In the aftermath of the attacks, our first responders, fire, EMS, police, our National Guard ran toward danger to serve and protect, to answer the call. Many put themselves in harm's way that morning. We need to remember the sacrifices they made that morning, and in fact, that they continue to make every day to keep us safe. It takes a special person to be a first responder. It's not a job that just anybody can do. And so on behalf of the Office of Attorney General, on behalf of all district residents, I want to thank you, all of you, for the work you do every day to make our city a better and safer place. This year in particular, we should pause to remember, to honor, and perhaps reflect on the fact that our country showed incredible unity, resilience, and fortitude following that morning. There was a sense of togetherness, a sense of unity and common purpose that we as Americans all felt. Today, we can and should recommit ourselves to that sense that we were not always such a divided country, that we need not be such a divided country, that we don't need a tragedy to bring us together as Americans. So we can recommit ourselves today to finding common purpose, shared values, and mutual respect. I thank all of you for your service then and now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Attorney General. At this time, I'd like to ask all of my council member colleagues to join me. And we can hear from Councilmember Fruman, then Councilmember White, and then Councilmember Felder.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. It's a very, very special day. There are all of the memories of the sacrifices from 9/11. I too, everybody remembers exactly where they were. I remember walking up Connecticut Avenue in a sea of people because the metro was closed, and so everyone was leaving downtown and going in all directions to where they lived. But I'm also struck that a very clear memory I have is a couple of weeks later being out at our child's soccer game in Hardy Park, where now as the Ward 2 council member, a big thing I have to deal with is the airplane noise in that part of the city, and there was none. We stood on that field and there were no planes flying, and the silence went straight to that sense of fear and the shattering of our sense of safety that we had on that one crisp September day, but also going forward even to today. But what do we have in that space? What gives us comfort in that space? And it was the response of our first responders. The people who ran towards danger, made real differences in people's lives, and do that today. And this event honors 9/11, but it's, in one way it's a good thing, just period, to take a pause and appreciate our first responders, whether it be fire EMS, whether it be our police department, OUC, our emergency responses in every different way. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our first responders.
Good morning. I'm at-large Council Member Robert White. Like all others here who are old enough, I remember where I was on the morning of 9/11. I was in college getting ready for classes, watching our local news, and seeing the smoke billowing from the first tower as I watched live a plane hit another tower and more chaos from there. It's moments like these that often define who we are. September 11th is certainly chief among those for many of us. 24 years ago, terror tried to break our spirit and our nation. But what the world witnessed in New York, in Virginia, in Pennsylvania, and here in Washington, D.C., was that our first responders have always stood unshaken, ready, and willing to give everything for others. And behind them, very far behind them, many Americans coming together in a time of great pain, saying that this country is more important, at least in a moment, than anything that may divide us. So as we reflect upon 9/11, we have to think about the sacrifice of those who lost their lives, but also the spirit of those who came together. Right now, we find ourselves in a time unlike any we had thought we would ever see, a time of deeper division than I've ever seen. But days like this, when we reflect on loss and pain, it calls us not just to sit in that loss and pain, but to reflect on what it will take for us to unify, to rise to the moment, to come together, to see beyond our differences. Today we remember nearly 3,000 lives cut short. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, friends, and colleagues. We hold close the families that still carry an empty chair at the table and grief that time cannot erase. We honor the survivors and the responders, those who had both visible wounds and invisible. Their sacrifices did not end when the sirens faded that day. Here in DC, our fire and EMS family carry this story. Some of you were at the Pentagon. All of you have kept watch over the city, steadying the frightened, bringing order to chaos, carrying our trust, and never putting it down. If remembrance means anything, it must be to live beyond this day. It means cherishing the memories of those we lost, supporting the families who carry their names, and standing with those who continue to serve with gratitude, with respect, and with the promise that their sacrifice will never be forgotten. So I say, as with my colleagues and the mayor, a huge thanks to those who were there, those who sacrificed, and a huge thanks to those who have signed up since, because they know that something may happen that may call them to duty the day that our nation's leaders and first responders were called on 9/11. And the fact that you have signed up and continue to sign up for that sacrifice, that your family supports you in that sacrifice, I want you to know how grateful we are, and that we will not forget your sacrifice and service, and we certainly will not forget the service and sacrifice of those who we lost on September 11th. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendell Felder, and I'm the Ward 7 council member. I'm honored today to be here with each and every one of you to commemorate the lives that were lost on 9/11 and to honor our brave first responders from the DC Fire Department and EMS services. As I reflect on this day, I'm constantly reminded that healing is a journey. It takes spaces like this where we all come lean on one another and join together in our hearts and minds. It takes community to look out for each other and look ahead for what comes next, especially in times like these. On this day 24 years ago, an American airline flight took off from Dulles Airport and crashed into the Pentagon, claiming the lives of passengers and numerous Pentagon personnel. Those innocent people were our neighbors, friends, family members. We have not forgotten them, nor will we ever forget them. And although they're no longer presently with us, remembrance such as this keep their spirits alive. So on this beautiful day, we heal together, we and celebrate the men, women, and children whose lives were lost on 9/11, along with the strength, bravery, and selflessness of our first responders who continue to show up for our communities every day. And with that, God bless, and thank you all.
Good morning, I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council. Sorry I was a little bit late getting here. I hope that my remarks will be fairly brief, especially since there are a whole lot of other folks who have already spoken. I see the two chiefs here. Good morning, and the mayor, good morning, and my colleagues as well. And of course, all of our first responders, good morning to you as well. I really just want to make 2 points. The first has been made over and over already this morning, and that is that this is a day to remember how tragic it was what occurred on 9/11, 24 years ago. And it's staggering when we look at the number of civilians, the thousands of civilians who were killed, and the number of first responders and the hundreds who died. And this was mostly New York City, but not entirely. We know that there were our own losses here in the District of Columbia, and our own response by our first responders here in the District of Columbia. So today is a time to remember, but it is also a time to reflect on what lessons we learned. Or maybe we learned at the time, but we've kind of forgotten since then, and that's what's so important about emergency response, and I just want to touch on this for a moment. One of the lessons we learned was the need for better interagency coordination. Another lesson was that we need to work at messaging to the public. And another lesson that we learned, or maybe have forgotten that we need to relearn, is the need to know in advance what the protocols are for response. So just very briefly what happened that day, and I don't mean what happened in New York City, but what I remember is the Office of Personnel Management for the federal government decided to close. Federal government closed. Thousands of federal workers got in their cars to go home. Meanwhile, the military district for Washington closed the bridges so nobody could go home. We had nothing but gridlock in our streets. Secret Service closed down not just around the White House, but for blocks and blocks around the White House. And meanwhile, the public didn't really know what was happening. And so there are a lot of lessons to be learned about interagency coordination, messaging to the public, and protocols for response. And that's an important part, in my view, of today, is to remember that we need to always be on top of what our emergency response will be when there's a situation that we can't possibly foresee. But it is also a day for remembrance, so we remember all those whose lives were lost here in the metropolitan region as well as in New York City. Thank you.
Thank you all. Now on behalf of all of my colleagues, I'm pleased to continue our tradition of presenting the ceremonial resolution introduced by Councilmember Fruman and introduced by all of my colleagues here today to Fire EMS Chief Donnelly to recognize your extraordinary service to the district.
Thank you, council members, and Mayor. Today, good morning, everyone. I'm John Donnelly, Chief of DC Fire and EMS. Today marks 24 years since the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. We gather here at Firehouse 16, and we say Firehouse because that signifies that we are part of the community, and this is where our first responder family comes together, and that's the way we view ourselves. We do this not only to remember the lives lost, but the heroism displayed that day, but to reaffirm our commitment to service, resilience, and unity. Since that day, our nation and our department has faced many other difficult moments. And while we know more challenges will come, we also know that each one of these challenges offers us an opportunity to grow and learn. So what does never forget mean in that context? As a leader, and as the leaders of the department, We believe it is our responsibility to carry forward the lessons of every tragedy. And from 9/11, we learned the value of coordination, the strength of our regional mutual aid, and the importance of clear communications and command. These lessons were not just theoretical. We recently applied these to the plane crash response in January. The principles taught by Arlington Fire Chief Jim Schwartz about the establishment of command, transitioning command, and working seamlessly with our federal partners were instrumental in guiding our command team during that incident. These insights, born from the chaos of 9/11, helped us bring order to a complex and high-stakes situation. But perhaps the most enduring lesson of 9/11 is this: our responders are capable of extraordinary things. In the face of danger, uncertainty, and loss, they adapt, they overcome, and they perform with courage and professionalism. That truth remains as powerful today as it was 24 years ago. We also recognize that the toll of these events does not end when the scene is cleared. Many of our responders carry the weight of what they've seen long after the sirens fade. We must continue to support them, not just in the moment, but in the months and years that follow. Today, I want to thank Mayor Bowser, the city administrator, the deputy mayor, and the council for their continued support of our first responders and the critical missions that we carry out every day. Your commitment assures that we are not only prepared to respond, but also that we have what we need to do when the work needs to be done. Let us honor the memory of those that were lost by continuing to serve with integrity, compassion, and unwavering resolve. Thank you. So with this, I'd like to call up Commanding General of the DC National Guard, Leland Blanchard.
All right. Mayor Bowser, Attorney General, members of the District Council, Chief Donnelly, Chief Smith, distinguished guests and residents of the District of Columbia, on behalf of the 2,400 Capitol Guardians, thank you for inviting me today. 24 years ago, Americans around the country woke up and went about the start of their day. Many were looking forward to discussing the Monday Night Football game that had been played at the brand new stadium in Denver. Two of our own DC Guardsmen, then Lieutenant Colonel Mark Sassville and First Lieutenant Heather Penny, started their day as any other, reporting to work at Joint Base Andrews. When aircraft hit the World Trade Center towers and then the Pentagon, they went on alert. The nation went on alert. The motto of the National Guard is always ready, always there. The iconic Minuteman, one moment tending to the fields, and the next ready to respond and defend the community and the nation. That day, the resolve, the dedication, and in fact, our ability to rise up and meet the high standards of always ready, always there, was put to the test. The call came in, the mission given to Sassville and Penny: find United Airlines Flight 93 and stop it. They took to the skies, the F-16s. They were not armed, but they were ready in that moment to make whatever sacrifice needed to be made. It's hard to imagine leaving for work like any other day, not knowing if you might have the chance to say goodbye to loved ones. Yet, at that moment, when the call came, they stepped up and they made a decision to do whatever it takes. That day, many people made that same decision, whatever it takes. First responders grabbed their gear, moved to the scene in New York and here in our capital. First responders moved quickly, literally moving right into a situation we could not have imagined. Not fully knowing the dangers ahead, but knowing that we needed them. We needed them to do whatever it takes. Now every day, soldiers, airmen, police officers, paramedics, and firefighters say goodbye to their loved ones and report for duty. Always ready to answer the next call, always there when we need them. They don't know what is next, but we know we need them. On that tragic day, September 11, 2001, our service members and our first responders were exactly what we needed them to be. The best of what America has to offer. They did not hesitate. As we honor our solemn duty to remember the lives lost that day, we also recognize that you wake up each and every day and you make a decision. Whatever comes, I will do whatever it takes. Now, I am forever grateful to each and every one of you as you continue to represent the best of America, the best of our community. They did not hesitate, and you do not hesitate. When the call comes, our pledge, the DC National Guard will stand side by side with our first responders, and we will remain always ready, always there. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to call David Hoagland, President of IAFF Local 36, up to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser, Chief Donnelly, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember Freeman, Councilmember Pinto, Councilmember Felder, Councilmember White, Director McGaffin, Chief Smith, General, Deputy Mayor Pia, all of you who have come here to commemorate and remember this day with these DC firefighters who are standing behind me. It's an absolute honor to represent them. 24 years ago, we witnessed a tragedy that forever changed our city and our nation. On that day, we made a solemn pledge we would never forget. And today, at this ceremony, we gather to honor that promise, not just in memory, but in action. We show that remembrance is not just a word, but a commitment. In the wake of 9/11, the outpouring of support for firefighters and police officers was overwhelming. It reminded us that even the quietest professionals, those who risk their lives every day without fanfare, deserve our deepest gratitude and unwavering support. But over time, I fear we've begun to lose sight of that urgency. Not out of malice, but through the weight of daily responsibilities and competing priorities. The commitment to public safety can begin to fade into the background. Disturbingly, data shows that younger generations are showing less interest in careers in public safety. This should give us all pause, because without those willing to serve, protect, and respond, our communities become more vulnerable. Our city leaders must rise above rhetoric. Words without action ring hollow. It is through our actions that we reveal our true priorities, both as a government and as a community. We must keep public safety in the spotlight when we elevate these roles. We do more than honor those who serve. We inspire others to follow in their footsteps. We shape a culture that values service, sacrifice, and strength of character. We are a vibrant city with a bright future, but with growth comes responsibility. As our city evolves, so must our commitment to protecting it. Public safety is not a line item, it's a lifeline. It's not a cost, it's a commitment to everyone in our care. It's not just a budget figure, it's the backbone of a safe, thriving community. It is not an expense to be minimized, it's an investment in our collective future. We cannot afford to treat public safety as optional or reactive or temporary. It must be proactive, prioritized, and permanent. Because when disaster strikes, whether it's a moment like 9/11, where those brave men and women gave their lives, or the plane crash on the Potomac River earlier this year, or everyday emergencies that rarely make the headlines, it is our first responders who stand between chaos and calm, danger and safety, fear and hope. To honor them is to support them. To support them is to prepare for what's next. And to prepare is not a luxury, it is our duty. Public safety must always come first, because when it does, everything else, growth, opportunity, and community can follow. Thank you.
Thank Thank you so much, President Hoagland, and thank you for all you do every day on behalf of our first responders and all of your partnership in the city. We appreciate it greatly. So we will continue to commemorate and honor this day each year, but I want to again thank all of our first responders at Fire and EMS, our Deputy Mayor, the Police Chief, our HCMA Director, our OUC Director, National Guard, and all of those who do this work every single day, because we will not take for granted what you do to protect our residents and visitors every day. And on behalf of your city government, we will always have your back as well. So thank you for all you do. I'm going to ask the Mayor and the Attorney General to rejoin us up here. And with that, we will close out today's event. Thank you very much. Thank you.